Hello, Nigerians. I welcome you to a special edition of James Villa. My name is Otra. Dele Farotimi, an author, a thinker, and human rights activist, has beckoned all Nigerians to unite in order to fight what he believed to be the political elite. In what seemed to be a symposium, Farotimi, who usually touts himself a victim of Nigeria, in a social gathering addressed the audience as my fellow lepers, to emphasize that though he was enlightened enough to be outspoken about the ills and aberrations in the country, he himself was also embroiled in the elitist political and economic victimization. Farotimi stated that Nigerians had not been able to deal with political class because they had tacitly given their support to the corrupt leaders. Expressing his proposition that truth dies in darkness, Farotimi contended that when a lie endures for so long and the sufferers become complicit in the erection and maintenance of that lie, then the lie could be assimilated as truth into the consciousness of the people. Farotimi therefore enjoined Nigerians to acknowledge the commonality of their victimhood. Take a look.
We can stay in our state of leprosy until we die, and then our children will inherit it. And you know the amazing thing about this sickness, Daddy even alluded to it when he was speaking earlier on. He said, truth dies in darkness. When a lie endures for so long and the sufferers become complicit in the erection and maintenance of that lie can actually become the truth in the consciousness of the victims. So each and every one of you, I'm speaking to you as my fellow lepers. I recognize the fact of my leprosy. I'm a Nigerian. That's why I'm always careful to explain that I'm not a citizen. I'm a victim of Nigeria. It is the grace of God that has kept one from the grave up till this point. The point I'm trying to make to all of us is this. If we do not recognize the fact of the commonality of our victimhood, if you continue to think that those who voted Bulaba deserve their punishment and you don't want anything to do with them, you can't even bring yourself to show mercy to them as Christians, how do you bring yourself together to fight the evil? Okay, so you know the truth, but they are so ignorant because they have embraced hatred that they do not know the truth. How have you, as Christians, shown them the truth?
Very sad indeed. So, in Farotimi's perspective, Nigerians are suffering from two kinds of leprosy. The leprosy of disunity and the leprosy of accommodation. In the first kind, he believes that Nigerians have not risen above tribal and religious differences in order to unite against common enemies who are the politicians. For instance, you saw what happened before the End Bad Governance protest when some sections of the masses, especially in the South, allowed themselves to be cajoled into backing up the protest. And even during the administration of Muhammadu Buhari, the natives and the residents of the North had not shown up in huge numbers in the same way they did in August 2024. All these reeks of tribalism and ethnic bigotry. And until Nigerians shun it, unity can never be on the horizon. And then the second kind of leprosy is the leprosy of accommodation. By accommodation, Nigerians are helping to install and maintain a depraved system. Farotimi also talked about the inequality, or should I say, the chasm between the small group of oligarchs, wealthy oligarchs, and the poor masses. The oligarchs commit crime and go scot-free because of their social and economic position. But the poor masses commit crime and suffer the punishment. Take a look.
A certain cross-dresser in this town was arrested for spraying money. There are numerous videos online where you find obas, politicians, governors, even presidents, ex-presidents spraying money. But of course, EFCC is not meant for the like of them. It is the lepers that the EFCC must find. And of course, who is more leprous than the one who does not look like you? So, we were all pressed into service in 18 Bobrisky to the point where we ignored that the law that was enforced against him is ignored in relation to others. Bobrisky, which is a paradox for Nigeria, the country we have all built, was now meant to go to jail. But of course, since the jail in Nigeria is meant for the poor and the weak, Bobrisky was able to assess the levels of injustice that is available to non-lepers. So he equalized with money. And we ignore that if it was available to the person we don't like, in relation to which we are now bleating, it was available to the murderers who could afford it. It was available to the armed robbers who could afford it. It was available to the kidnapper who could afford it. It was available to each and every one of the persons who could either afford it or who are members of the non-leprous class, whom the class is punishing and are sent to Kirikiri or other correctional or in-correctional centers. The important thing that we all need to understand in this case is that there is a commonality to this affliction that we forget when we convince ourselves to embrace the hatred by which we have been divided.
Away from this, the emergence of the Republican candidate Donald Trump as the winner of the 2024 United States presidential election has thrown up once again certain events that transpired in the past regarding the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, P2B. Two of these issues are the labeling of P2B as a Donald Trump of Nigeria and then the unfounded accusation of ethnic bigotry and political nepotism against P2B. In the first place, on September 11, 2024, Bayo Onanuga, speaking on behalf of the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, labeled P2B as Nigeria's Donald Trump. According to Dr. Moses Paul, a staunch advocate of the obedient movement, the malicious remark was intended to mock not only P2B, but Donald Trump, underscoring a divisive political stance. Dr. Moore proceeded to say that at the period of electioneering campaign in the United States, political forecasts suggested that Kamala Harris was poised to succeed the United States presidential race. Of course, even the polls that projected a tight race between the two candidates revealed pretty high chances of success for Harris. Unfortunately, that was not meant to be. Today, with the comeback of Trump to the White House, the Nigerian government may find itself having to explain this disparaging comparison to Trump's government. Now, the second issue raised in Nigeria by Trump's emergence is the accusation of political incapacitation of P2B as well as the baseless claim of ethnic bigotry. As Donald Trump was being certified to have cleared the 7 swing states to win the U.S. election, Sam Omatsaya, a popular journalist and critic of the obedient movement, made a tweet on his Twitter page and said, "America is voting racism over virtue, putting criminal in the White House." Mr. Omatsaya was referring to Donald Trump. In essence, he expressed that Trump won the election owing to the preponderance of the white population in the United States. And since the white men did not desire a black woman to be the first female president in the US, they opted to vote based on racist sentiments. Meanwhile, back home in Nigeria, Mr. Omatsaya is being touted as a hypocrite by members of the obedient movement because of being guilty of the same accusation of bigotry he labeled against Trump and white Americans. During the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Omatsaya wrote an article he titled "Obituary," published in the Nation newspaper. The article was intended to spew campaign of calumny against Mr. P2B, accusing him of exploiting tribal sentiments to win election, despite the multi-ethnic and multi-religious character and nature of the obedient movement. Mr. Omatsaya proceeded to make a blind and completely outrageous commentary on the Labour Party candidate. Now, may I inform Mr. Omatsaya that the difference between racism and tribalism is only in name. Both are fundamentally the same. Before we make comments about the faults of others, we ought to have examined ourselves to be confident of our probity. And then to the United States. The electoral victory of Donald Trump must have, stirred a sigh of relief for Christians in the country. It is common knowledge that the Republican candidate has been known for his seeming stance on religious extremism, which is somewhat he believes is a hallmark of Islam.
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred there. There's a tremendous hatred. We have to get to the bottom of it. There is an unbelievable hatred of us.
In Islam itself?
You're going to have to figure that out, okay? You'll get another Pulitzer, right? But you're going to have to figure that out. But there is a tremendous hatred, and we have to be very vigilant. We have to be very careful, and we can't allow people coming into this country who have this hatred of the United States.
I guess the question is,
and of people that are not Muslim.
I guess the question is there a war between the West and radical Islam, or is there a war between the West and Islam
it's
itself?
Radical, but it's very hard to define. It's very hard to separate because you don't know who's who.
Do not forget that during the beginning of his first administration in January 2017, Trump reportedly ordered the removal of Islamic symbols and practices adopted by his predecessor, Barack Obama. Trump was alleged to have maintained that America was founded by Christians and was built on Christian morals. This contention might be supported by Trump's strong stance against abortion and gay marriage, which are antithetical to Christian principles. So it is well understood when Christians in the United States rejoice at Trump's resurgence. In the United States Senate complex, Christians swarmed in their numbers, praising and worshiping God after Trump was declared winner. Take a look. In the same vein, Christians who converged on the street of Manhattan to worship God due to Trump's emergence as the winner of the president. That's it on Jay's Villa. If you like my videos, do not hesitate to hit the like button, make your comments, share my videos, and then subscribe to Diaspora Digital Media for more exciting stories. Stay tuned. Thank you.